The Earth was peaceful, blissfully unaware of the storm that was about to hit. In the cold void of space, the Xeric Empire, an alien race known for their ruthless efficiency and overwhelming technological superiority, was preparing to strike. For years, they had been eyeing the small, seemingly insignificant blue planet known as Earth, ready to wipe out humanity for good. The Xeracs had conquered countless worlds, leaving nothing but ruins in their wake, and Earth was their next target. They had studied the humans, assessed their strengths, and dismissed them as primitive. The Xeracs were certain that this would be another easy conquest. Their fleet, composed of massive warships equipped with cloaking devices, silently approached Earth. These ships were so advanced that they could hide in plain sight, becoming nearly invisible to anyone without the most sophisticated technology. From the command ship in the heart of the fleet, the Xeric leaders watched as their weapons systems powered up, preparing to strike. Earth's defenses, outdated compared to Xeric technology, stood no chance against the oncoming assault. The first bombardment began with a sudden flash of light as the alien ships launched their devastating strikes on Earth's major cities. In the blink of an eye, skyscrapers were reduced to rubble, and entire urban areas were left burning. Yet the citizens below remained unaware of the true danger approaching, until it was too late. The Xeric ships hovered silently above, invisible to Earth's radars, their weapons primed and ready to strike again. At the heart of this chaos, in the ruins of a once bustling city, stood a lone figure. Bonner, a seasoned human soldier, surveyed the scene from the top of a collapsed building. His sharp eyes scanned the sky, watching for any sign of the incoming Xeric attack. His pulse quickened as he saw the faint shimmer of the cloaked warships in the distance. It was the first time in his life he had seen such advanced technology up close, and yet in the pit of his stomach, he felt something the Xeracs could not have prepared for: hope. The Xeric Empire had made a fatal mistake. They thought humanity was weak, but Bonner knew better. He had seen humans survive impossible odds before, and he was sure they would do it again. The aliens had underestimated the human spirit, something far more dangerous than any weapon. Bonner clenched his fists and muttered to himself, his voice barely audible over the distant rumble of the falling bombs. They'd made a mistake. As the first wave of bombs struck Earth's cities, the air seemed to crackle with tension. The explosions were deafening, filling the sky with flashes of light. But Bonner stood firm, his gaze unwavering as the dust from the blast swirled around him. He could feel the ground shake beneath his feet, but his mind was elsewhere, on the task ahead. The Xeracs had no idea what was coming. Humanity had been preparing for this day for a long time, and it was about to prove its worth. The camera zoomed in on Bonner's face, capturing the determination in his eyes. His words, though whispered, seemed to echo in the midst of the chaos. They'd made a mistake. His voice was a promise, not just to the aliens, but to his comrades and to every human on the planet. They would not go down without a fight. They would not be conquered. Suddenly, a piercing shriek filled the air as another wave of Xeric warships decloaked, revealing their massive forms high above the Earth. The cloaking devices had failed them. Now the human forces knew exactly what they were up against. The ships began to fire, their weapons cutting through the air, launching high-energy beams that tore apart entire sections of the city in seconds. The destruction was catastrophic. People ran for their lives, panic and fear spreading like wildfire. Yet, amidst the destruction, Bonner remained calm. He had seen this kind of devastation before, and he knew it was not the end. In the past, humanity had faced far worse, and they had always found a way to survive. Now was no different. As the bombs continued to fall, Bonner quickly accessed his comms unit, contacting his team. "We need to organize now," he ordered. His voice was steady, but his mind was already racing. The humans had to regroup, strategize, and fight back. It wouldn't be easy, but he had seen the Xeracs' weaknesses. They had technological superiority, but they lacked one thing humans had in abundance: resourcefulness. Bonner wasn't the only one who knew how to fight back. All across the world, humans were rallying to protect their homes, their families, and their way of life. It was an underdog fight, but that was where humanity thrived. It was in the face of overwhelming odds that humans found their true strength. They would fight not just for survival, but for the ideals they held dear: freedom, unity, and love. A feeling of emptiness washed over Bonner, but in that moment, something deep inside him changed. The loss of Jackson wasn't just a personal blow. It was a reminder of why they were fighting. As the reality of Jackson's death sank in, Bonner wiped the blood and dirt from his face, his jaw clenched in fury. "We fight for those who can't," Bonner whispered, more to himself than anyone else. The words were simple, but they carried the weight of everything he had learned in his life. The human spirit wasn't just about survival. It was about honoring the sacrifices of those who had fallen. It was about carrying on the fight for those who no longer had the chance to stand by their side. The words echoed through his mind as he rallied his team. They were not just fighting for themselves anymore. They were fighting for Jackson, for every fallen soldier, and for all the people who had no voice in this war. The Xerx, with all their advanced technology, couldn't understand the power of human emotions. It was that very power that made humans so dangerous. As the human resistance continued to push back the Xeric invaders, the Xeric commanders watched from their ships in disbelief. They had underestimated humanity's strength, but they still believed they could crush the humans. They couldn't fathom the idea that the emotions driving the humans were more powerful than their technology. While the Xerax relied on cold logic, precision, and AI-driven machines, humans relied on something deeper: their emotions, their love for their families, their friends, and their planet. That connection gave them an unbeatable strength. As Bonner led his team through the streets, now filled with the wreckage of both human and Xeric forces, the weight of Jackson's death still hung heavy on his heart. But it had also ignited something within him. The rage and sorrow gave him a fire he hadn't known he had. Every alien machine they destroyed, every Xeric drone that fell, was another step toward avenging Jackson and all the others who had been lost. In the midst of battle, the human spirit was more alive than ever. The soldiers fought with a new vigor, knowing that the price of failure was no longer just their lives. It was the lives of everyone they loved. As the sky above Earth continued to burn with explosions and laser fire, Bonner and his team pressed forward, undeterred, as the storm of war raged on. The Xerax had underestimated humanity, and in doing so, they had made a fatal mistake. It wasn't just technology that made humans dangerous. It was the emotional drive behind their actions. Humanity fought for more than survival. They fought for each other, and that made them unstoppable. The battle was far from over, but Bonner knew one thing for sure. The Xerax had no idea what they had just unleashed. Humanity's fight had just begun, and the universe would soon see why humans were a force to be reckoned with. The Xeric Empire had thought Earth was an easy target, but now they were learning the hard way that the human spirit could never be crushed. The Xeric forces continued their relentless push forward, seemingly unstoppable. Their armies, massive in scale, their weapons cutting edge, and their tactics finely tuned through centuries of war, had been devastating to Earth's defenses. Yet, despite all their technological might, the Xerax found themselves facing something they couldn't understand: humans. At first, the Xerax were confident. They thought Earth would be just another conquest, a planet ripe for plunder, its people easily crushed under the weight of their superior tech. But now, weeks into the invasion, something was beginning to gnaw at their certainty. Humans, despite their technological inferiority, had been putting up an unpredictable, relentless fight. The Xeric commanders had been watching from their command ships, analyzing the battlefield with cold, calculating logic. Yet every time they thought they had humans figured out, the humans did something completely unexpected. Their tactics didn't follow any pattern. One moment, human forces would be scattered and on the retreat, only to suddenly reorganize, striking back with ferocity. The next, they would appear to have completely abandoned a region, only to launch a surprise attack from an entirely different direction. The Ziracs tried to adapt, but it was as if the humans were constantly shifting and evolving, making it impossible to predict their next move. The Ziracs relied on cold logic, their decisions made by supercomputers and AI systems designed to eliminate uncertainty. But this unpredictability was a wild card they hadn't accounted for. The human soldiers, under the guidance of leaders like Bonner, were not following a simple, linear strategy. They fought with something that the Ziracs could not comprehend: emotion. The Ziracs, in their overconfidence, had overlooked this simple truth. They thought the humans would cower in fear, waiting for the inevitable. But the humans had something the Ziracs didn't understand: determination. This was not the end of Earth. It was the beginning of a battle that would test the very limits of human will. As the first wave of attacks began to subside, Bonner could already see the human resistance forming. It wasn't much, just a few scattered teams of soldiers and civilians. But it was enough. Enough to start the counterattack. The humans had always fought with their backs against the wall, and they were about to prove that no matter how advanced the enemy, no matter how powerful the technology, humanity could never be defeated. Not as long as they had each other. The camera cut away to show the scattered forces across the globe, from military bases to makeshift resistance camps. Every corner of Earth was alive with the sound of preparation. Human ingenuity and grit were about to be tested like never before. The Zirac Empire had no idea what they were about to face. With Bonner's words still echoing in the background, the scene ended. The tension was palpable, and the audience was left on the edge of their seats, wondering what would come next. How could humans possibly stand against an enemy so technologically advanced? What could they do against an enemy who seemed invincible? The answers, however, were already unfolding. The Ziracs had made a mistake. They had underestimated humanity, and they were about to learn the hard way just how powerful humans could be when they fought with everything they had. As the camera panned over the burning cities and the distant sky, the words, "the calm before the storm," flashed across the screen. And in that moment, it was clear that the true battle had only just begun. The first wave of the Zirac invasion had begun. Earth, once an unassuming planet nestled in the far reaches of the galaxy, was now under attack by an unstoppable alien force. The Zirac fleet, vast and imposing, hovered silently in the skies, while their robots and drones descended through Earth's atmosphere. The air crackled with energy as these advanced machines descended like locusts, their weapons firing at everything in sight. They showed no mercy. Every city, every village, and every part of Earth was targeted. In the midst of this destruction, humanity's resilience was put to the ultimate test. The Ziracs, with their superior technology, believed that this would be an easy conquest. They didn't account for one thing: the human spirit. While the aliens had overwhelming firepower, humanity had something far more powerful: determination. Bonner and his team of soldiers were among the first to fight back. They had been preparing for this day, and now, as the machines of the Zirac Empire rained down from above, they quickly put their plans into motion. The human resistance, though not as technologically advanced as their alien invaders, had ingenuity on their side. Bonner's team relied on advanced human technology, including EMP, electromagnetic pulse, blasts that were designed to disable the alien machines. As the drones and robots descended, firing their high-powered lasers, the EMP blast struck, and the machines instantly went dark. Sparks flew from their metal bodies, and their once synchronized movements slowed to a halt. The Ziracs hadn't anticipated such a counterattack. Their eye-controlled drones, which had been intended to overwhelm Earth's defenses, now lay in ruins, their systems fried by the human EMP blasts. The tide was turning, but the battle was far from over. Bonner and his team moved quickly, taking advantage of the momentary victory. They fought with precision, using guerrilla tactics to ambush the remaining alien forces. The humans didn't have the Zerek's advanced weapons, but they had something else, a fierce will to survive. Every soldier knew that this wasn't just about fighting to protect their homes. It was about protecting their future, their families, and the legacy of humanity. Despite the initial success, the Zereks soon adapted, using cloaking technology to hide their remaining drones and robots from the human forces. The battle was fast-paced, with moments of intense action that had the soldiers on their toes at all times. Bonner's heart raced as he moved with his team through the wreckage of a once thriving city, dodging blasts from cloaked drones that had reappeared. In the midst of the chaos, something horrible happened. Bonner's best friend, Jackson, who had been by his side through countless battles, was caught in a drone strike. The explosion was deafening. Bonner's heart dropped into his stomach as he saw the smoke rise from where Jackson had been standing. Time seemed to slow down. His best friend, his brother in arms, was gone. To the Zereks, who had long abandoned emotions in favor of calculated decision-making, this emotional resilience of the humans was baffling. The humans fought not just for survival, but for something far deeper: family, loyalty, love, and loss. It was this raw, powerful drive that fueled them, something no alien technology or military strategy could ever replicate. But what was the secret behind the human strength? The Zerek leaders could not fathom it, and this uncertainty began to unsettle them. They started to question their strategy. They began to wonder if Earth's warriors possessed a power beyond their understanding. Perhaps there was something the humans had that could not be measured or calculated. But what could that possibly be? As the Zereks pondered, Bonner and his team were making their next move. They had infiltrated deep into enemy territory, a covert operation that had become one of the most daring missions in the history of the war. The team had managed to sneak aboard a Zerek command ship, using the humans' own technology to evade detection. Cloaking devices, previously used only by the aliens, had now been adapted by the humans to blend into the shadows, making their approach almost undetectable. They moved like ghosts through the massive corridors of the command ship, their movements precise, their mission clear. The goal was simple: to plant bombs in the most crucial parts of the Zerek fleet. This would disrupt their operations and create a window of opportunity for Earth's forces to launch a counterattack. But the mission was anything but easy. The Zerek ships were heavily guarded, with advanced security systems, surveillance drones, and troops patrolling every corner. Bonner's team had to use their wits and skills to avoid detection, hiding in the shadows and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Inside the command ship, Bonner's heart raced as he navigated through the halls. The silence was deafening, broken only by the soft click of his boots against the cold metal floors. His mind raced. One wrong move, and they would be caught. They had to plant the bombs in the central energy core of the ship, a place so well guarded that no one had ever attempted to infiltrate it before. But Bonner knew this was their only chance. The success of the mission would turn the tide in favor of humanity. As they reached the core, Bonner's team set to work. The tension in the air was thick, and time was running out. With every passing second, they were at greater risk of being discovered. Bonner's fingers flew over the control panel, carefully programming the bombs to detonate at just the right moment. They needed to make sure that the destruction would be enough to disable the Zerek fleet's ability to retaliate, but not so much that it would immediately trigger a massive counterattack. Just as they were about to finish, a low hum filled the air, and Bonner froze. A new alarm had gone off. The Zereks had detected their presence. It was only a matter of time before the entire ship was locked down. Bonner's mind raced. They had to finish the job, and quickly. He gave the signal, and the bombs were set. But as they turned to leave, the Zerek's forces burst into the room. The battle was about to begin. As the team fought to make their escape, Bonner couldn't shake the thought that something wasn't right. There was a hidden strength behind humanity's survival, and he had just discovered part of it. In the heat of the chaos, one of the bombs malfunctioned. It wasn't a glitch, it was intentional. The Xerax had anticipated a move like this. That's when Bonner found it, something that made everything click. Hidden in plain sight within the ship was a neural combat link. This was human technology, something that had been developed in secret and was now being used by the soldiers to synchronize their actions with unparalleled precision. The link wasn't just a piece of tech. It was a bridge between mind and machine, a way for soldiers to communicate and fight as a unified force. When connected to the neural combat link, soldiers could move together with incredible speed and fluidity, responding to the battlefield in real time as one. This was the secret the Xerax couldn't understand. The neural combat link allowed human soldiers to work in perfect harmony with one another, enabling them to outmaneuver even the most advanced alien technology. The unity created by the neural combat link was what gave humans the edge. They weren't just fighting as individuals. They were fighting as a single organism, moving with one mind and one purpose. Bonner realized that this was what made humans so unpredictable to the Xerax. Their strength was not just in their weapons or tactics, it was in their unity. The neural combat link was more than just technology. It was a manifestation of human will. It allowed them to tap into the power of teamwork, of trust, and of collective strength. And that was something the Xerax could never replicate, no matter how advanced their technology became. As the team escaped the Xerax ship and detonated the bombs, causing a chain reaction of explosions that crippled the alien fleet, Bonner knew that humanity had just unleashed its true potential. The Xerax may have underestimated them before, but now, they would have to face the full force of human resolve. And with that, the tide of the war shifted. Humans had shown the Xerax that there was more to them than met the eye. It was not just technology or brute strength that made them dangerous. It was the power of human spirit and unity that had taken the Xerax by surprise. And it would be the key to humanity's victory. The war between the Xerax and humanity had reached its breaking point. The Xerax Empire, once so confident in their technological superiority, was now on the verge of being defeated. Their initial advantage, advanced technology, superior numbers, and a battle-hardened military, was no longer enough to ensure their victory. Humans, despite being the underdogs, had proven that their strength lay in their unity, their resilience, and their ability to adapt and fight back with relentless determination. As Bonner and his team discovered the secret behind humanity's strength, the neural combat link, they had unlocked the key to defeating the Xerax. The Xerax had underestimated the human spirit, believing that their predictable tactics and cold logic would crush the resistance. But what they failed to understand was that humans were not bound by rigid patterns. They fought with their hearts, with their emotions, and with a deep sense of purpose. And now they had the technology to synchronize their efforts in a way that had never been done before. With the neural combat link, the humans were able to coordinate their attacks with unmatched precision. They moved as one, no longer scattered, no longer outmatched. The Xerax forces, accustomed to easily overwhelming individual resistance, were now faced with a unified human front that struck with terrifying efficiency. The Xerax tried to adjust, but it was too late. They were no longer fighting scattered, disorganized humans. They were up against a coordinated strategic force that struck with the speed and precision of a single organism. The first signs of the Xerax downfall came from above. Human warships, cloaked and silent, descended upon the Xerax fleet, hiding in the shadows of space. The sight of the cloaked ships was a moment of awe and terror, for it meant that the humans had come prepared for war on their own terms. They were no longer the underdogs. They had turned the tables, and now the Xerax were the ones fighting a battle they could not predict. The atmosphere was charged with tension as the human warships fired on the Xerax fleet. The weapons unleashed from above were devastating. Giant Xerax warships, once thought to be invincible, were reduced to burning hulks of metal. The human forces unleashed their full firepower, hitting the Xerax ships with brutal accuracy. As the human warships tore through the Xerax fleet, the AI-driven Xerax soldiers, once so precise and calculated, fell into disarray. Their systems malfunctioned as their commanders scrambled to adapt to the new and unpredictable tactics the humans were using. Visual storytelling played a vital role in these moments. The sight of the cloaked human ships emerging from the dark void of space, their weapons launching in perfect synchronization, was a spectacle of human ingenuity and courage. Every explosion, every strike, was a testament to how far humans had come. They weren't just fighting with technology. They were fighting with everything they had, driven by an unyielding will to survive. The Ziracs, who had relied on their superior tech for so long, were now seeing firsthand that human resourcefulness and determination could turn the tide of war. But while the battle raged in space, the emotional core of the war was still grounded in the hearts of the soldiers. For Bonner and his team, this fight was no longer just about strategy and technology. It was about honoring the fallen and protecting the future. The death of Bonner's best friend, Jackson, had left an indelible mark on him, and every step he took into battle was for the friends and loved ones they had lost along the way. Every victory, every blow against the Ziracs, was a step closer to justice, to revenge, and to the safety of Earth. The Zirac forces were losing ground, but their leaders were not ready to admit defeat. They had one final card to play: their flagship, the heart of their fleet, which had remained untouched by the human onslaught. This massive command ship was the pinnacle of Zirac engineering, and it was the key to their final hope of crushing humanity. If they could hold onto this ship, the Ziracs could regroup and launch a devastating counteroffensive. But if the humans could destroy it, the entire Zirac invasion would collapse. Bonner knew what had to be done. He had spent months in the trenches, watching the war unfold, and he understood that this final battle would decide the fate of humanity. If they could take down the flagship, they could end the war once and for all. But the cost of such an attack would be high, perhaps the highest it could be. For Bonner, this was a mission that could mean his life, but he was prepared for that. He had already lost so much. The thought of his fallen comrades, of Jackson, spurred him on. With his team at his side, Bonner led the charge to the Zirac flagship. The mission was clear: destroy the alien command center at all costs. As the human forces launched their final assault, Bonner could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. Every step he took toward the flagship was filled with both determination and sorrow. This was the culmination of everything he had fought for, and the final test of humanity's will. The attack was brutal. The human forces breached the flagship's defenses with the coordinated power of their neural combat link. But as they neared the heart of the ship, they were met with fierce resistance. Zirac warriors, equipped with advanced weapons and armor, fought to hold back the humans. The battle was intense, close-quarters combat filled with blinding flashes and the screech of weapons clashing. Bonner fought with everything he had, his every move dictated by the knowledge that his mission would be the turning point. As he neared the command center, he realized that the Zirac leaders were ready for him. They had anticipated his move, and their forces were concentrated at the center. The fight would be more difficult than ever, but Bonner was undeterred. He pushed forward, determined to complete the mission. In the final moments, as Bonner stood before the alien command center, he knew that this was his last stand. The Zirac leaders had locked down the area, but Bonner had one last weapon: sacrifice. With a final, desperate act, he triggered the bomb, sending a shockwave of destruction through the ship. The command center exploded in a fiery inferno, obliterating the Zirac leadership and signaling the collapse of their entire fleet. Bonner's sacrifice was the catalyst that ended the war. As the Zirac flagship crumbled, so too did their empire's control over Earth. The remaining Zirac forces retreated, and humanity emerged victorious. But the victory came at a terrible cost. Bonner, the man who had led the charge and given everything for Earth, was gone. His death, however, was not in vain. His legacy would live on as a symbol of the human spirit, the indomitable will to fight, to survive, and to protect what mattered most. In the end, the Ziracs had learned a powerful lesson. Underestimating humanity's strength, heart, and resilience was their greatest mistake, and the galaxy would remember that lesson for centuries to come. The final assault had begun. The death of Bonner, the heart and soul of humanity's resistance, had left a mark on both the battlefield and the hearts of the soldiers who remained. But in that moment of loss, something else had emerged, a burning determination to carry on his fight. The humans, now with their backs against the wall, pushed forward with the knowledge that this final battle would determine the fate of their planet. The Xyric forces had underestimated humanity's ability to survive, but they were about to learn the full power of human resolve. In the wake of Bonner's heroic sacrifice, the remaining human forces, led by his comrades, launched a final, decisive assault on the Xyric mothership. This was no longer just a battle for survival. It was about revenge, honor, and the hope of a future free from the alien threat. The humans, using the neural combat link, synchronized their actions to perfection. Every soldier moved with precision and speed, coordinating attacks that overwhelmed the Xyric defenses. Despite being vastly outnumbered and outgunned, humanity's strength came from their unity, their will to protect, and their unwavering belief in each other. The Xyric leaders, watching from their command center, could hardly believe what was happening. Their forces, once so confident and powerful, were now being pushed to the brink of destruction. Their advanced technology, their superior weapons, and their ruthless tactics were no match for the humans' unpredictable emotional fight. The Xyric leadership had always prided themselves on their calculated, logical approach to warfare. They believed that emotion was a weakness, a flaw that could be exploited. But the humans had proven them wrong. The emotional bond that tied humanity together had become their greatest strength. It was something the Xyrics had never anticipated, something they could never have understood. As the Xyric mothership began to crumble under the relentless assault, one of their leaders turned to the others with a mixture of disbelief and fear. "How do they do it? How do they fight like this?" he asked, his voice trembling. The question hung in the air, heavy with the weight of their realization. The answer, however, was simple: the power of humanity's bond. The Xyrics, despite all their technological might, could not comprehend the strength that came from humans fighting not for glory or dominance, but for something far more personal, for each other. Humans fought to protect their families, their friends, and their way of life. They fought not because they had to, but because they cared. It was this bond that made humanity unpredictable, dangerous, and unstoppable. In the face of overwhelming odds, humans found strength in their emotions, and that strength turned the tide of the war. As the human forces surged toward the heart of the Xyric mothership, the battle reached its fever pitch. The Xyric soldiers, once so confident in their superiority, were now retreating in disarray. The human soldiers pressed on, relentless in their pursuit of victory. Every explosion, every strike against the Xyric forces was a reminder of what humanity had lost and what they were fighting to protect. The Xyrics, once so arrogant in their belief that they could conquer Earth without resistance, were now seeing the full power of human resilience. They had made a critical mistake in underestimating humanity's resolve. The final moments of the battle were a blur of action, with the Xyric mothership crumbling under the weight of the human assault. The Xyrics tried to retaliate, but their attempts were futile. The humans, using their advanced technology and unified strategy, dismantled the mothership piece by piece. With every blow, the Xyric leaders watched in horror as their empire unraveled before their eyes. And yet, despite their technology, their strength, and their numbers, they could do nothing to stop it. They had underestimated the power of human emotion, and now they were paying the price. Amidst the chaos, a Xyric leader stood at the command center, watching as his empire collapsed. His face was a mixture of fear and awe as he finally understood what had happened. The humans had defeated them, not with superior weapons or technology, but with something far more powerful: their heart, their unpredictability. The leader whispered to his comrades, "Is their strength." The Xyric leaders, now beaten and broken, were forced to acknowledge the truth. Humanity was not to be underestimated. The Xerax had made the fatal mistake of assuming that emotions were a weakness, but they had learned the hard way that emotions, when harnessed in battle, could become a force of destruction. The human ability to fight with passion, love, and sacrifice had proven to be their greatest weapon. It was something that the Xerax, with all their cold logic and advanced technology, could never replicate. As the battle came to a close and the Xerac forces retreated from Earth, their leaders knew that they had suffered a crushing defeat. They had lost more than just the war. They had lost their understanding of what made humans dangerous. The Xerax had always believed that they could conquer any species through sheer force and precision. But humanity had shown them that there was something far stronger than cold logic: the will to protect, the desire to survive, and the power of unity. In the aftermath of the battle, as the dust settled and the last of the Xerac forces fled, humanity was left to rebuild. The victory was bittersweet. The loss of heroes like Bonner weighed heavily on everyone. But the humans had proven something far more important: that they could overcome any challenge, no matter how insurmountable, when they fought together. The Xerac leaders, now defeated, vowed to never underestimate humanity again. They had learned their lesson the hard way, and they would carry that lesson with them for the rest of their existence. The galaxy would never forget the day when humanity, against all odds, took on the might of the Xerac Empire and emerged victorious. The Xerax had learned that in war, it was not just about technology, tactics, or strength. It was about the human spirit, a force that could never be replicated, a force that could never be predicted. And that was why humanity would always be a force to be reckoned with. The Xerax had lost the war, but humanity had gained something far more powerful: the respect of their enemies and the knowledge that, no matter what the future held, they could always rely on each other to survive. The final battle had been fierce. The Xerac forces, once so sure of their victory, were now in retreat. The skies above Earth, once filled with the terrifying sights of alien warships, were now clear. The last remnants of the Xerac fleet vanished into the distance, leaving behind only the echoes of their defeat. The battle for Earth had been won, but the cost had been high. Lives had been lost, heroes had fallen, and the planet had been forever changed. Yet, through it all, humanity had proven one undeniable truth: that no matter how powerful the enemy, no matter the odds stacked against them, they would fight with everything they had to protect their home. The victory was more than just a military triumph. It was a statement to the galaxy, a message that humanity would not be easily defeated. The Xerax had thought they could conquer Earth without resistance, but they had underestimated the strength of the human spirit. Now, the entire world stood united in the wake of their hard-fought success. Nations, once divided by borders and conflicts, came together in celebration. It was a moment of unity, a time to honor the sacrifices of those who had fought and died to secure their future. In the aftermath of the war, humanity began to rebuild. The neural combat link, the technology that had played such a pivotal role in their victory, was shared among global forces. This new alliance, born from the fires of war, would ensure that Earth would never again be caught off guard by a threat as powerful as the Xerac Empire. The neural combat link allowed soldiers to synchronize their actions with unmatched precision, creating a bond between them that made them an unstoppable force. With this technology, humanity had not only secured their victory, but they had also ensured their continued strength for future challenges. But even as humanity celebrated their triumph, there was a somber reminder of the price they had paid. Among the ruins of the war, there were heroes who would never return. One of the most significant losses was Bonner, the soldier who had led the charge and sacrificed his life to destroy the Xerac command center. His bravery, his unwavering dedication to his comrades, and his willingness to give everything for the future of Earth had made him a symbol of humanity's strength. His death, though tragic, had been a catalyst for the final victory. Without his leadership, the human forces might never have had the courage to push forward when all seemed lost. To honor Bonner and the many other fallen heroes, a memorial was built in the heart of the capital city. The monument stood as a reminder of the sacrifices made to secure Earth's freedom, and it became a place of reflection for all those who had lived through the war. People from all walks of life visited the memorial to pay their respects and remember the cost of victory. The names of the fallen were etched into the stone, each one a testament to the bravery and resilience of those who had fought for a better future. The last scene of the story was set in front of the memorial. A group of soldiers, including Bonner's closest comrades, stood together, silently paying tribute to their fallen friend. Their faces were somber, but there was a sense of peace in their eyes. They had lost so much, but they had also gained something far more precious, a world free from the threat of the Xeric Empire, and a renewed sense of purpose. As the camera slowly panned across the crowd, it lingered on the monument one last time. The inscription on the stone, a simple yet powerful reminder of Bonner's words, stood out: "We fight for those who can't." These words had become the rallying cry of humanity's resistance, the motto that had driven them to victory. It was a promise to the fallen, and to the future, that humanity would always fight for what was right, no matter the cost. The camera then pulled back to reveal a peaceful Earth, now secure and free from the Xeric threat. The once battered cities were beginning to rebuild, and nature was slowly reclaiming the land. The air was filled with a sense of hope, a belief that no matter what challenges lay ahead, humanity would face them together. The promise of a better tomorrow was alive in the hearts of every human on the planet. The final shot of the story was one of hope and resilience. A beautiful sunrise illuminated the horizon, symbolizing a new dawn for Earth. It was a reminder that, though the battle had been won, the journey was far from over. Humanity had proven their strength in the face of impossible odds, and now they were ready to face whatever came next. As the screen faded to black, the closing line echoed in the minds of all who had witnessed the story: "We fight for those who can't." It was a line that would be remembered for generations to come, a symbol of humanity's unwavering commitment to each other, no matter the cost. The war had been won, but the true victory was the strength of the human spirit, a force that could never be conquered, a force that would endure for all time. And so, as the story came to an end, the legacy of Bonner and all the fallen heroes lived on. Their sacrifice had paved the way for humanity's future, and the memory of their courage would inspire future generations to stand strong in the face of adversity. Humanity had emerged victorious, not because of their technology or weapons, but because of the indomitable strength of their hearts. And that was a victory that no alien empire could ever take away.